Welcome to One Tired Teacher, episode 35. What would I do if I wasn't a teacher? It's a big question that sometimes we ask ourselves. We get tired, like teacher tired, and it can be rough sometimes. So what do we do when we start to question if this is the path that we should remain on? That's what we're going to be talking about today. I hope you stick around.
Welcome to One Tired Teacher. And even though she may need a nap, this teacher is ready to wake up and speak her truth about the trials and treasures of teaching. Here she is, wide awake. Wait, she's not asleep right now, is she? She is awake, right? Okay. From Trina Devery Teaching and Learning, your host, Trina Devery.
Hey, this episode. It's definitely one where we kind of take a look at what happens when we find ourselves on a path and we start to wonder if this is the path for us anymore. And I want to say, before we kind of jump into this, I want to say that there's nothing that I have loved more besides my children than teaching. I absolutely adore watching children's face light up when they see me and when they are learning and when something new hits them it's that spark. Watching that and watching kids interact with each other, even on the playground, has been like the things that you learn about them, just watching them, observing them, the way they think, the way they create things, just all those magical moments have been such a huge part of my life and so very important, so much so that even when I left education, I didn't leave education. I just switched my role to a different one. And so I can't let go. It's been very difficult to let go of completely because it's something that is in my blood. I feel extremely passionate for students and for children and for teachers. And I really think that it is such an important job. And I am so honored to be amongst you and to still have the chance to talk to teachers and reflect on things and plan things and organize and just, the whole thing of it. I have a new school being built right behind me. I think I've said that a couple times, and it's finished. It's ready to go, and the teachers are moving in, and I have several friends that are there, and I'm so excited for them because it's going to be a fresh start and it's going to be new, and the principal is amazing, and if anyone can make it great, and she can. And I think I think the administration is a huge part of how teachers survive sometimes. And it actually makes me, get a little bit choked up because my administrator was like such a huge part of my life and still is. And I adore him. And it just makes a huge difference. So I look at them and I think, wow, you're getting ready to do something really exciting. You're part of something really special. And I remember when I opened the school with my administrator, and it was magical. It was exciting. It was thrilling. It was like one of the best times I had. I also had that's where I found like one of my very dearest friends, and we are still really close to this very day. And it was such a life-changing experience. So I'm so excited for them. And I love going over there and like looking at the new rooms and trying to help, figure out how are you going to put these tables, because they have these new desks that are like this. I don't even know how to describe the shape. It's like a very, everything's trying to look so modern, but it's like a little bit of an awkward shape. As I was the media specialist in the last year that I was actually officially in like the school system, and I had to get these wave tables in my media center. They like kind of made me. I wanted to do these cafe tables and basically the whole media center. And they were like, no, you may not have round tables, all throughout the media center. You have to have this wave shape because this is the new thing. And honestly, like they were pretty cool, but they were awkward. Like they had the really thick legs. And when you're trying to make teams of kids, it's hard when those desks or tables have really thick legs, because those little legs are going to get intertwined with those big thick table legs, and it's a little frustrating. So, this new school has like some even weirder shape, and which is a little bit more cumbersome to figure out how you're going to do like cooperative learning groups. And so that part's hard, but it's still so exciting, like all the new furniture and all the, opening of new things. And they're going to have a slide. The principal, was really they went to Ron Clark and Academy. And I just think that's amazing. And so it's going to be really cool. Like, I think it's going to be really cool. And I think teachers, they do such an important special job. So I want to say that all first. I think that's really important because this topic is pretty heavy, thinking about what you would do if you weren't a teacher. So I want to talk about that. Before I really get into that, I want to say that I am really excited to be hosting a virtual learning party for teacherpreneurs. And if you have ever even thought about being a teacherpreneur, which is a teacher that owns their own business or works on a side business, like a side hustle even possibly, and you are just thinking about getting started, then I invite you to come to this because there's going to be so much information that would help get you started. And definitely if you're already on that path and you're in the trenches of your business, then there's so much for you to learn as well. It really is like a combination of beginning, middle, later on in your journey as well. So if you are interested, it's a virtual learning party for teacherpreneurs and it's on Facebook. It starts July 16th, 17th, and 18th. 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're kicking it off and we have like just like 29 different sessions, like 29 different presenters presenting on all kinds of things like podcasting in your business, which I'm actually presenting. And I also have a free master class on podcasting for teacherpreneurs. And that is also available at this virtual learning party, but it's also available a couple of other days. So if you'd like to join me for that, it's Trina Debery, Teaching and Learning, Learn with Trina. But that's just one topic. And there's lots of topics about, mid-year goals and setting goals and beginning blogging and earning $300 in a weekend. That's insane. And beginning tips for people that want to do sell on Teachers Pay Teachers, and just a wealth of things. And it doesn't have to be, your side business doesn't have to be TPT. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. There's like so many options. So that's what I want to talk about today. Okay. So what would you do if you weren't a teacher? I have to say, it took me a long time to realize that it was time for me to go. And I mean, it was like years. And I started to feel, I know when I had my daughter, I'd only been teaching for like 3, maybe 4 years. And I still was in love with teaching, but I really wanted to stay home with my daughter for a little bit of time. And I was heartbroken when I couldn't. We tried everything to make it work. And I tried all these stay-at-home jobs. It was insane. I mean, and this is in 2000. So there wasn't a Teachers Pay Teachers. And if there had been, I would have been on fire with it because I was determined to stay home. But that was not the plan for me. And I was not happy about that. I was really frustrated and upset, and I was kind of angry. I'm like, I didn't understand why God wanted me to go back into the classroom, but that was the way that it worked out. And that sometimes when you're fighting against something and it's not working and everything you're doing, the door is shutting and everything you're trying, it's like slammed shut right in front of your face. And then you go, okay, I guess I have to go back. We really needed the money. And so as soon as I said I was going back, somebody called me the next day and was like, so-and-so's leaving from this school. I can get, they can interview you. And I mean, I got the job in a couple of days, maybe. It was it was so easy. It was unbelievable. And then, I mean, I interviewed with the principal and I went to high school with his son. So we talked mainly about that. So he was retiring and he was like, yeah, we'll hire you. So, I mean, it was crazy. And then I found the best place for my daughter to go. It was an in-home daycare, not really daycare. It was like an in-home. It was an older couple and they were like her grandparents. They were so unbelievable. So everything happened ta-da. So I know that it was something beyond me. That was that was the plan. And so I did it, and I did it reluctantly in the beginning. But when you're called to do things, you gotta do it. You have to lean in, because sometimes that's the answer. That's what we're meant to do. And it was like shortly after that I went back, and I mean, I was going to work, and I wasn't going back to my regular school because they already had someone in the position, and I had taken a year, the rest of the year or the next year off. And so I had to go find a totally different position. So I was going to a school where I didn't know anyone, and it was really, really hard. I mean, I would come to school every day looking like I was on drugs because I was crying so hard the whole entire way there. My eyes were all puffy by the time I got to school. It was heartbreaking. Like, it's hard to talk about even now, and my daughter's 19. But it was so, I felt like someone was ripping out my heart. It was so hard to go back that year. But I did. And the funny thing is that the expectations at that school were so much easier than the school that I'd been in with my regular principal forever. I do end up going back there. I was only at this one school for 6 months, and then I went back to my with my principal and stayed with him for most of my career, which was 19 years, 20 years of teaching, and except for when he left and got promoted. But anyway, so those expectations were so different at this school. Like, I actually found, this is going to sound crazy, I actually found myself like sometimes bored. I know it sounds so unbelievable, because we were forced to do these programs, which I wanted to like shoot myself, because we were such a, like, this is when I first came into teaching, was all when guided reading and Fontes and Pinnell and Mari Clay and all these people were like really big, and we were doing such cool stuff, like really great stuff that's continued to be amazing, and really great practice. I was very lucky, and I also, that principal sent me to everything. Like, we had so much professional development, it was unbelievable. I learned I never learned as much as I did those first few years even later on in my career, because we were just like constantly doing professional development. It was amazing. So I really came in, and teachers were excited because it was something different and something that they really felt was going to help kids. And so they were excited. So it was a different time. But at this new school that I was in for 6 months, they were doing SRA, which, oh, I wanted to shoot myself. It was horrible. I remember telling the kids at one point that this was like the worst example of writing that I'd ever seen. Like, they needed to use this I needed them to understand this was a non-example of writing. Like, this is not how we write. It was, the stories were brutal. And they did what they thought was differentiation. So we basically had ability grouping going on. And like, I had the average, readers in my group, but they were not average, because they'd been using this system, and the kids had never really got a chance to show the deep thinking that they could do and the love of literature that could happen. I felt like I was like, I did what I was supposed to as quickly as possible, and then I would read something else, and then we would have these conversations. It's like when Mosaic of Thought came out too. Oh, I loved that book. And so the kids were like thinking and talking and making connections to text, and they were like, they were diving in. I mean, this is all before the Common Core too. It was just so unbelievable, and they loved it because they had such bad examples that when they finally got to read or hear stories from Patricia Polacco and Kevin Henkes and all these authors, that they fell in love. And it was magical. Like, it was magical. And they took off. I'm telling you, I have never seen, because my other school was like really close to being considered a Title I. It ended up being, a couple of years later. But this temporary school I was in was in a really, like, had a high socioeconomic population at this time. And so these kids were like, they didn't have that odds stacked against them. So they had a lot of potential. And it was not that I think all kids have a lot of potential. I don't mean to say that. Like, all kids have a lot of potential, but these kids just didn't have the world, like, the world wasn't stacked against them. So they really took off. It was fun. It was really fun. But anyway, so I found myself somewhat bored at the end of the day, because lesson planning was like a piece of cake. And because I basically had to like do what they told me. And then I, on the side, get to do whatever I wanted, which was so fun. And although I'd have to tell them, other teachers, that I was, of course, doing SRA and that we just had a little bit of extra time, because the kids would leave my classroom and go back to their classroom like, that was awesome. And I'd be standing there like, oh no, we didn't really do anything. We just did the SRA lesson. And it was crazy. But anyway, so when I was at this temporary school, I went to the teacher's lounge, which is something that I never ever did again. Like, I went to the teacher's lounge and literally like sat and rested during my specials. It makes me laugh to think about, because it's like so impossible. Like, that never happens. But I did at this school. And I mean, I was kind of looking for connections because I didn't really have any. I missed my old school and the people that I'd gotten to know and love. And it was just so different. So I was looking through this teacher magazine, like they had these like teacher newspaper things, and they had this contest for teachers. It was like this contest of teaching these grammar lessons. You had to use their material. It was from China. You had to use their materials. You had to create a lesson. You had to create a video and submit it. And the prize was like $100,000. And I mean, I was like, I'm doing this. Like, I'm totally doing this. And they really wanted to see your personality. So they wanted you to like, really ham it up basically, which I was all about that in my classroom. So I was like, I'm on it. So I totally did this lesson and I sent it off. I had a kid videotape it. I mean, I had like students helping me do the video because they were like the backs of their heads and stuff was in the video. It was punctuation. I mean, it was like a really crazy thing. So I sent it off and I didn't think another thing of it because I was like, well, that's never going to happen. Well, we get this like, what are those things called where you get like I can't think of the word. It's like like those things that used to like, I don't know how to, like a wire transfer kind of thing. It was like this thing that came to the door, like this person came to the door with this message and they're like, they gave me the message and I opened it up. I still can't think of the word of it, what it's called. I opened it up and it was like, you have won, you're a winner of a prize, but they spelled prize wrong. And I was like, huh. And they were like, you won $10,000. And I'm like, no way. There's no way. And so I called my husband at the time and I'm like, it said I won. Like, I won. I guess I didn't win the grand prize, which was $100,000. I didn't even know there were prizes for like there was like 10 runners up and then the grand prize. And I was one of the 10 runners up and I won $10,000. And it was crazy. We were like, and of course I told you, we were like, we were struggling financially. So this was a huge, this was like a windfall for us. We were so excited. And at this point, we were getting ready to sell our house to my mom. And then we were building a house somewhere else. Like, things had started to turn around once I went back to work and my husband was able to focus and whatever. And so the $10,000 was like a giant thing and it was crazy. And I look back at that and I go, if I had resisted the plan that God had in store for me, I would have completely missed that miracle. I wouldn't have seen it. And I think that happens sometimes. And this is like such a rambling story that I'm telling you, but my point is that I knew I was supposed to teach. So I felt called to teach and I did it for a long time and I loved it. And I went back to my old principal. I went back to my school. I was happy. I started a new school. I had another baby. I got to stay home for a year. And then I was actually like ready to go back to work. I was excited and I was ready to teach. So it really was like such a, like a beautiful career. And then I started getting really upset with the system. I started feeling like what we were doing to kids felt wrong to me. And I wouldn't have lasted at the temporary school doing SRA. I would never have lasted. I would have probably quit in another couple of years. I can't imagine that I would have been able to handle that because I didn't have that. And I think those kind of programs really stifled teachers' creativity and their ability to analyze kids and make decisions and move forward. And I know when I have my legs cut off at the knees, I don't function very well being micromanaged. And I don't function very well doing things that feel so wrong. And I totally don't believe in doing things that make kids cry, like literally cry or have to drag them into school. And that is what I started watching. I was watching that happen the later I got into my career, when we were doing all these programs and all these things that I'm like, and they started talking about us all having to do the exact same thing on our lesson plans and have our essential questions on the left side of the room on the board posted. And we needed to have these rubrics, and we needed to make sure that we had this data wall and in our classroom for all the children to witness. And I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't do that. It made me feel like what you would feel like if you had to post your weight on a wall with others to see. Don't tell me they don't know what number they are. You know, kids knew. I never did, actually. I never did it. And there was a lot of things that started to really upset me and hurt me. And I couldn't do it anymore. And the expectations from the district and from the state, and it became something that I didn't believe in. And I asked, God again, I'm like, is this what you still want me to do? And so I ended up leaving the classroom for a little while. And I was a student support specialist, and then I was a media specialist. And I think I've told you that before in different episodes. And so I tried some other things because I had a really hard time letting go of children and a really hard time letting go of teachers. And I struggled with that, but I ended up at a different place, and the decision became much easier to leave. But, I often wondered, what was I going to do? Like, what would I do if I didn't teach? And that's what I want to say to you, because now that I've told you my long story, like, what do you do if you are in that boat where you're like, I can't deal with this anymore. I don't think this is what I'm supposed to do. And you feel helpless, like you have no other options. You do have options. You have a lot of options. We have skills that are valuable in the business world. We have skills that are valuable in other professions. The ability to problem solve and manage a project and think critically and, communicate with others and explain things to people, breaking it down into steps that they understand. I mean, there's corporate trainers, there's other businesses that actually would need that, love that, want that. So you're not completely trapped. You don't have to stay in a situation that makes you unhappy. I think that, and I don't even think that's healthy for students. That was another thing that I started to realize, that I started to feel bitter towards a system, and it was affecting the way that I was teaching. And I don't think that's fair for my students. I mean, I feel like I left before it became like really impactful to them, but I was very close to, and I know there were moments. I don't want that to come off to my children. And it's not fair to them. So I think that you need to know that you're not trapped. There are options. And now there's even more options. I mean, Teachers Pay Teachers was a huge gift to me. I mean, it helped me in so many different ways. And I'm extremely grateful and will always be. But there's other things too. I mean, creating courses and having a podcast and doing things, going to finding other jobs and other professions. There are things that we can do. We often feel limited because we're like, well, we're a teacher. I'm a teacher. I have nothing else to offer. That's so much to offer. There's just so much. And even things like, they've got these companies now like VIP Kids, and I think it's Go Kids or something like that. And so even if you want to continue to teach without some of the expectations that they have in a school system, and you're not giving tests that you don't believe in, or you're not putting them on programs you don't believe in, and you just get to work one-on-one with children, like, I think that's a great option. And honestly, like, I've been doing that for a little while because I miss the kid aspect. And I'm like, I'm like having so much fun with them. They're so stinking cute. And, you got to get fed a little bit in some ways. And I think it's important, especially when you're an entrepreneur, teacherpreneur, that you have multiple ways of earning income, especially when you're self-employed, because you just never know at what's going to happen at what moment. And I hope that I won't have to have 5 jobs my whole entire life. But if I do for a while, or I do, and that's okay. And if it doesn't work out and I'm supposed to be going in a different direction, I will go in a different direction. I will go find a place that values me and that I can thrive, and I can use the skills that I have learned along the way, and I can take it into a new career. into a new path. So I just want you to know that you're not alone. You're not the only one that has questioned if this is the path that you should remain on. And there are other options for you. And so I don't want you to give up on yourself in that way. And I want you to say also that if you are called to teach, then you teach. You do what you love, because it's those kind of teachers that are doing what they love and are passionate about it. They make such a difference to our kids. And I thank God for you. And that I just need to say out loud as well. And I know I've talked about God a lot on this episode of this podcast. And if that's offensive to you, I'm sorry. Then this is not the podcast for you. And you're welcome to be here and stay. And I love that you are. But I have to say that, like, that for me, like, sometimes I'm going to say that, and sometimes I'm going to say that. And I think that, yeah, I can if yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, so I just want you to know that there are other options for you. And I think corporate trainer is actually a really good one. And I know that there are like tech companies that hire teachers because they're really good at explaining things or doing presentations and developing information, giving out information. That is really huge. So don't like limit yourself. You can go in those directions. And sometimes some of those companies like go online and just put in all of your skills. And you would be really shocked to even think about what some of your skills are. And I mean, project manager, like, think about how many jobs have a project manager, and you have been doing that when you're managing your classroom and you're managing, communication to parents, and you have to alter the way you speak to parents and how you speak to children, how you speak to administration. Like, you are capable of doing things that you never even thought of before. So you're not stuck if you feel like you are. And if you don't, and you feel like you're happy where you are, then I want you to keep being happy. Because there's like two different tired. There's the tired where I can't go on. And there's the tired of I just still love this with all my might. It's just every once in a while, I need a nap. All right. Well, if you decide for any reason that you are ready to like jump into the teacherpreneurial world, then I would love to have you join us at the virtual learning party for teacherpreneurs, July 16th, 17th, and 18th. And join our Facebook group, and you will get a wealth of information to kickstart you. If you are finding this podcast after that date, and that's in 2019, then I want you find something else. Like, you find something else, because you can continue to learn if you just seek out the information. I would love to hear from you. So leave me a comment, write me an email, send me a direct message on Facebook or Instagram. I would love to hear how you're holding on, how you're doing, why you still love teaching, or how you feel and you're feeling stuck. Like, I'd love to chat. So go ahead and text me, write me, whatever, and let me know how you're doing. Leave a comment in the show, and give it a rating while you're at it, and hit subscribe so you don't miss a thing. I promise you, next time we will not be talking about such a heavy topic. We have some exciting things coming up when the summer is getting ready to wrap up and we're getting geared up for back to school. And yeah, it's going to be good. All right. Well, this one tired teacher is ready for a long summer's nap. Until next time, sweet dreams and sleep tight.